News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Very good morning and welcome to Newsline, live from the News First studios here in Dawson Street in Colombo. This morning we're minus Bandula Jayasekara, who's been sent off on a recce, so that we'll give you more information on that in the coming weeks. It's bound to be interesting, and we'll have a whale of a time at the time. But this morning we've got senior legal eagle, Mr. Govindasri, and Hemanta Vanakul Surya, President's Counsel. Gentlemen, good morning. And
good morning, good morning, good morning.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, up and bright so early. Something's troubling us now, and I was wondering, Mr. Dasri, if you can help us with our quest for information. Why a constitutional assembly? Why not a parliament? Why? What's the difference?
Well, whatever name you use, whatever gimmick you use, end of the day we have a constitution that has provision for amendment. So whether it is parliament, whether it is constituent assembly, whatever name you call, this time you will have to proceed as per the constitution, which has specific provision relating to amendment. Now, I think the government has a purpose. The purpose is to get all on board and give it an appearance that it has all-party consent. Now, all-party consent, I think, is a fiction that will never materialize. We saw it in the days of Rajapaksa regime, that there was an all-party conference that went through the whole period of time, but it doesn't bring results, and I feel this is another endeavor that will be rather a spoiler than a fact that will materialize, because when you try to get all on board and get a consensus or a unanimous opinion, you will never get it in this situation, for the reason that if you look at it for us, I look at it this way: constitutional amendment is a luxury issue for the people. It's not a live issue. The two live issues to the people, to me, is first of all economic issues, the cost of living, and secondly the issue of security for the family. Now, once those two issues are going for or against the government, people will so vote. But the government, on the other hand, feels that they can get both sides of the opposition, the side that is with the government, the SLP-UNP combination, and the Mahinda Rajapaksa people in the opposition, all on the board with the TNA, and present it as a package.
Hemant, what do you...
Yeah, I believe, I know in 1972, when Mrs. Bandaranaike and this constitution, when the parliament set the constitutional council, she, at the election, she went before the people and gave a pledge that the Salisbury constitution will be abolished.
Right.
And she said, she said the mechanism upon which she is going to do that. And the people gave an overwhelming majority, voted for Mrs. Bandaranaike, and the constitution was amended.
Right.
Now this time, I don't think, though Maithripala Sirisena, the president and the prime minister, said that they are going to amend the constitution, they are going to abolish the presidency, they never gave a pledge about the constitutional council. Now here I believe, as my friend Dasri said, the intentions are noble. Intentions are noble, where they try to get the consensus of everyone by trying to bring in the constitution. But I believe, we are treading on very, very dangerous grounds, because last time when Mrs. Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga almost finished a term, there was this necessity to bring an amendment, to bring a new constitution, and the reason for that was actually the ostensible reason for that was under the present constitution, Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga's term was going to end, and then she wanted this constitution to extend her term. That is what the UNP said. But I had some knowledge of the provisions that were brought in by people like Dr. Jampati Vikramaratna and Sarathan Silva, I believe the Attorney General then. My gosh, if that constitution adopted, this country, I believe, could not be governed, because there be so many problems where so many institutions and so many appeals. Ultimately, the Supreme Court, they were trying to bring the Supreme Court jurisdiction of the fundamental rights to the provinces, every single time you will go to the provincial high court and get a stay order, and this country would have not been governable. Now here also, I mean, here I believe, bring not only the entire parliament, they want to get the entire people involved in this. There are so many committees that have been set up, and they are seeking the opinion of various people, right? Various institutions, the NGOs, others. Now, some of those people have vested interests, and when they make suggestions, the government adopts them. Again, we will fall into the same rut. This government, that government will not be governable. There won't be authority. There won't be executive power. I personally feel whatever the people say about Georgia and the Constitution, this has been tested. There are certain provisions which need to be amended. I agree with that. But this has been now for the last so many years, 17, 18, 19 years, the Supreme Court has interpreted, and we know what the Constitution is. And then what is necessary is to abolish or remove the powers of the President, which can be done. Which can be done without all these amendments, without being a new Constitution. And then give the power to the executive president, executive prime minister. All those could be done within the framework if they have 2/3 majority. Now the problem here is, I believe, now I think President Maithripala Sirisena once remarked, I heard, that last time when we brought this amendment, the Supreme Court was the stumbling block. They went to the Supreme Court and made certain suggestions, and the Supreme Court, on the basis of those suggestions, gave an order, and some other things could not be implemented. So my position is, they are trying to do this not only on the belief that they are trying to get the consensus of everyone, they are trying to obviously obviate the necessity of going before the Supreme Court.
This is why I wanted to ask, really. We have a parliament, now they make it a constitutional assembly, and to me there seemed to be some sort of doubt that they were, or a possibility that they were trying to circumvent, or they may try to circumvent the need to have to go to the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court may well rule that we must have a referendum and that the people must be asked.
I thought the game plan for us, by the way I understood it, is that they have to follow the Constitution at some point or the other, which means that if the Constitution is to be amended, there will have to be a bill, and that bill of necessity will have to go to the Supreme Court. But the question, I think I agree with you on the question, is what time do they go? Now, if you put it whether to Parliament Select Committee or whether it's a Constituent Assembly, I think it's all talking shop, because there'll be a lot of talk and little work. But I think what should be really done is really bring a bill by the government, by the cabinet, and present it to the people, and then check on it. Present it to Parliament, get the 2/3, then send it to the Supreme Court, and then finally a referendum. Because for us, the way I see it is, when the last Constituent Assembly was created, there was no provision for amendment in the Salisbury Constitution. So, and there was also entrenched provisions like Section 29, which did not in any way, it was not possible of amending under any rule. But now we have provision for amendment. Now, therefore, Mrs. Bandaranaike had no choice but to go to a Constituent Assembly, because that Constitution didn't make any provision for a replacement. But the 72 Constitution, remember, it was done by very able people like Dr. Colvin R. De Silva. It's lasted, during its whole duration, there was not a single amendment. Now we have a Constitution with 19 amendments, which means that somebody's been tinkering, monkeying around, clowning with the Constitution. That's where the problem is. But if you have a Constitution that is acceptable, which is, it should carry very still amendments, because if you look at the Salisbury Constitution or Mrs. Bandaranaike's 72 Constitution, it did not carry any amendment. It lasted its lifetime. But now with constitutional amendment provisions, whether it is Parliament, whether it's a Select Committee, whether it is a constituency, give it whatever name, but once the bill is there, people have the right under the constitution to make a petition to Supreme Court people.
Yeah.
And finally, if it has to get past the 2/3 majority and then presented to the people at a referendum. If these provisions are in any way violated, then it becomes a total illegality. I don't think the government will try to monkey with the constitution to that extent, but I feel the entire purpose is, if possible, get consensus, and in getting consensus there will be a lot of give and take. I believe for us that they may even do away with the police powers, but try to create a federal concept. Now, is that acceptable? And if you do have a referendum, the danger of a referendum is, the advantage is a very democratic in outlook. But you might have the people in the south vote in one way, people in the north vote in another way. If that is reflected, you're giving a message internationally that there is no proper reconciliation. So there are advantages, disadvantages in a referendum, but finally, if you look at the total picture, I think it is better to have a referendum, because people then have the right to exercise their franchise, their opinion correctly. But remember last time's referendum, that was a mockery. Now, are they going to have a genuine, free and fair referendum is the question. We had a referendum last time, and so much so, if you remember, Mr. Hector Kubekar, who was the presidential candidate, when he went to vote, somebody had voted for him.
Yeah. He spoke about monkeying around and clowning around with the Constitution. I have a question. Within the provisions of the 19th Amendment, it says that you can't, you're unable to, the Parliament must run for a term minimum 4.5 years, so it can't be dissolved. Well, to me, that sounds a very odd situation.
Absolutely odd. Absolutely odd for this reason. I mean, the whole constitutional process requires, if the government loses it on a vote of no confidence, loses the budget, in all those situations, you still will have to continue with the same parliament.
So this places a very unfair burden on the president.
Right. Now, this is also brought in by several constitutional pundits in this country who claim to be constitutional experts. Now see what has happened. They brought in this provision and no one objected to it. Supreme Court also did not mind it. Right? And then what happened? We are saddled with a situation where a government, where the president will have to continue with the same parliament.
That's right.
For 5 years.
So he'll be forced into very unhappy marriages.
So he'll have to ultimately, like a cook, bring several ingredients from several and then prepare a pot boil. And I don't think that is good. That augurs well for the future of this country.
And also, if I may interrupt, that means we are going to have permanently weak governments.
Yes.
Where the center is weak and the periphery will be stronger. Now that is the ideal situation for federalism to be installed in this country.
My position is that now similarly, I do not know, even now, when this is brought in, I mean, I'm shocked that no one in the civil society also objected to this. They all want to change the constitution. They all want to abolish the presidency. They all want, various things. They think it's the ultimate solution of the problems. No, now my position is that this country, there must be a government. Government must be very strong. As Gomin said, it must not be weak government. Now here, even in this concept of getting the consensus of every single political party for us, now the SLFP, what is their vote base? Their vote base is essentially, singular Buddhist. Then there is where the UNP essentially is the singular Buddhist and the minorities. Minorities because they want more devolution. The Tamils, the Muslims, all voted for this government. So then, when ultimately the SLDP feels by these amendments their vote base is getting strangulated and they will lose their power, will they support the situation? So my position is that we think that all ills fall upon the feet of the executive president. Now because we are not being able to solve the problems of this country, we are trying to find scapegoats. We are trying to find some excuses because we have under this present constitution, we must accept the fact we won the war.
Indeed.
Then also there was rapid development. There rapid progress. Colombo became the most beautiful city in Asia. So
Indeed. Let us continue discussing the vital opportunity that is now before the country after this short break. Stay tuned.
Kokutali.
Welcome back to Newsline. This morning joined by two legal eagles, Govind Daisri and Hemantawana Kulasurya. Very interesting what we're saying about the various provisions that they are now trying to invoke. I have this question. Just think about the minimum term of the Parliament, which is 4.5 years now, and no provision for the dissolution of Parliament, which to me seems to water down real democracy. I mean, real democracy is where if you lose an important bill, the done thing is to dissolve, and then you carry on from there. But in this case, we have the president of the country being given a very limited pot. Places where was this because it was ill thought out, because it was rushed through?
No, the reason for us is simply this: they wanted to negative a position that Mahinda Rajapaksa was taking of timing the elections as and when it suits the president.
Right.
That was the intention, and that looked reasonable.
Yes.
But by imposing this 4 years and 6 months rule, what has happened is the parliament and the government becomes gradually weaker. And it's an artificial time duration fixed, because the government can lose its base. If you remember, when Mrs. Bandaranayake lost the ANCL bill, immediately she called for general elections, and at the general elections she lost the vote. So that kind of situation will not happen. The president will have to pick from the same parliament another prime minister, or the same prime minister with another combination of ministers.
Could they argue that this is stability?
No.
Yeah, no, I believe the Pandits thought, because especially after that they knew that with this coalition, with Mahinda Rajapaksa becoming very, very popular at that election, that there is no chance of winning absolute majority. So they thought, if a government is formed, the government will not last. So in order to prevent that, they thought, we'll have a stable government, we'll have provision so that the government cannot be dissolved, there will be no parliament elections, the president can select some person, another person, the same person as the prime minister with a different cabinet and the government. Now the whole problem is, with that notion, what happened, the government becomes weak. The government and the president will have to now, think of a situation where we had to pick up some complete different person from a different party, or the same party as the prime minister, or the same person as the prime minister, and with the opposition they still support this government. So my position is this is what I fear. Even in this constitution, the council and the new constitution, there be chaos. Because we will have now, all these people will have to go into the NGO lobby. They will want various fundamental rights, various rights enshrined in the constitution. And then what happens? This country, it becomes ungovernable. And then, as Govind says, then the centre becomes weak, peripheries become strong, and various things could happen. So that must be, I don't know how that could be prevented. I believe the only way is to have the present constitution amended so that we know what the constitution is. We know there is a united state. We know it has given a permanent place for Buddhism, and then after that dissolve, make necessary amendments. I personally feel still there should be a president in this country, because that's the only way that we ensure that all even the minorities, even the people living in refugee camps will vote for a president who is from the majority community, and that concept of political person from the south becoming elected is there. But if you remove that presidency, if you don't vote for, if the entire country does not vote, then what will happen? Prime Minister from Colombo and another minister from somewhere else, the country as a whole will not be beholden to that person. And that is a very, very dangerous situation.
You see,
Do you agree? What's your
no,
thoughts?
I wouldn't, because I think in this case, in this country, somebody even from a minority community has the right to be a president. I
Yes.
think one person came very near it, Lakshman Kadirgama. He may have been president if even the Sinhalese would have overwhelmingly voted for him because they had respect for him. I think it is wrong to think that it is a position available only to the Sinhalese. Undoubtedly, Sinhalese are the majority, and majority rights have to be safeguarded. But at the same time, what is very material I see in the coming days is the way the election system is, electoral system is re-established. Because parliamentarians who are going to vote at the coming constitutional changes are going to look at the parliamentary system, whether they will be able to get themselves re-elected. Because the final round voting pattern will reflect who is going to be in the opposition, who is going to be in the government at the next election. That is the way, because you see, the public are not interested in these constitutional amendments. That's more an issue for the intellectuals.
Yeah.
But people are more interested, I said, cost of living, economic issues, their own security for the family. Those are the prime issues. But for the parliamentarians, I don't think they are interested in anything but whether they will get themselves re-elected. That is why we see today some of those who brought political packages, supported the 2000 bill, supported the 13th Amendment, are now with saying this constitution shouldn't be put in, and constitutional changes are not necessary. They are objecting to it. Why? Because all this is a political exercise for their own reinstatement in parliament. Now that is wrong. What you should look at is the most important thing what this country needs is reconciliation. And in that reconciliation process, you cannot forget the rights of the majority. For example, if they try to dissolve the paramount position to given to Buddhism, that's going to come a very thorny issue. I don't think they will touch it.
This business about trying to dissolve the importance of Buddhism in this country, I think that's an argument that is being used by people. There's no basis really in that.
It is not so, because for us, as you know, in all the Muslim countries, their religion, Islam, is the key religion, and sometimes it's even Shia or Sunni.
Yeah,
So,
but that's part of the law.
so that is part of the
but
law.
there is no
now in
real...
England, the Queen cannot be anything but from the Church of England. So when a majority right has to be recognized, but provided it is not harmful to the minorities, you must look after.
But there's
the
no
religion.
there's no suggestion that.
The suggestions have been brought forward by others who are opposing the amendment to the constitution.
Yes.
I don't think there are any
no basis.
any member of the government or the prime minister or the president is going to change that situation.
No.
But they are just using that in order to oppose this. Some of those things, some of the politicians who oppose this has not even read the bill. There were no bill presented in Parliament. There are only the Prime Minister interest in order to appoint a Constitutional Council and the composition of the Constitutional Council.
Yeah.
So now, in order to tell the public that it's a very dangerous thing, they are bringing this religious issue of Buddhism and unitary state. I don't think there is any move to change that. So, but I'm trying to say is that by bringing this new constitution, I know the provisions. It must be. It is true that the people, President promised the people. They went to the polls and got a mandate, but it must be very, very carefully done. Otherwise, this country will not be able. No government will be able to govern this country with a lot of provisions, giving rights to various people, fundamental rights. Every single turn you can go to the court and get a stay order and things like that.
How dangerous or how aware should the public be that we are trying to exchange an executive presidency for an executive prime minister?
It's a dangerous thing, because you're once again weakening the center. Now, we could never have won the war if not for an executive president. You need a captain. The whole trouble is there are too many chieftains. That is wrong. You need a captain, you must have direction, and to that extent I think it was an advancement made by J.R. Jayawardene, probably safeguard himself, but time has shown that it's a useful institution because the centre becomes strong. In a small country like Sri Lanka, giving power to the periphery is necessary. I mean, one has to realize that the war is over, and now we must go after the grievances of the Tamil people. That does not mean the Tamil politicians. It's the Tamil people. They have legitimate grievances. Those grievances must be assuaged.
Now, even the present president, you would see that even the budget debate, there was various other debates. There was even the 19th Amendment. The president went there personally and ensured that everybody voted because the president sort of impressed upon them for the necessity to vote for this amendment. So therefore, I think it's very, very wrong. I think this country needs executive president. But of course, his powers may be prone, may be amended. But executive president for a small country like this is a must. As I said, J.R. Jayawardene is a visionary, and he thought that this system should be adopted. I think we all should look back and say whether it is a good thing to abolish this presidency.
How much of this is a cynical question, but how much of this is designed to keep Mahinda Rajapaksa out?
Well, I think what this constitution, new amendments will do is, if the economic, there's a downturn, if the people feel insecure, this will be the fillip to defeat the government. Because it is, I think, that going on a very dangerous course of action, because if you try merely to satisfy certain sections of the people, and if it comes from the so-called Colombo society, or what I call the Colombians, well, it's going to be disaster ahead.
I've got a question from somebody who asked me. They said, are they trying to change the executive presidency, the system, because Ranil Wickremesinghe has been unable to, over the years, to secure victory at the presidential polls?
No, I don't think so. I personally feel even Reverend Madhurya Sobhita and the NGO and the other NGOs and various other civil societies, they wanted to find out some escape valve. They thought the whole system has failed under Mahinda Rajapaksa, they believed, because of the executive presidency. And so therefore that promise was given. The promise, every single politician gave that promise.
If I can say one word, I feel that the whole exercise is to weaken the centre. Now that is what the NGO society wants. As my friend correctly said, NGO society wants to weaken. One of the base is they want to hit the base. That's the presidency. And that is why I think people in this country might overwhelmingly vote, because they would realize the benefits that the executive presidency gave when Mahinda Rajapaksa was able to defeat terrorism comprehensively.
We're in our last few seconds of the show. I want to ask this question. Is there a possibility, does it appear that the government are trying to avoid the having of a referendum?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe the government is trying to not only avoid having a referendum, the government is also trying to avoid going to the Supreme Court. That may be the intentions, I do not know. That is what I feel. But I personally feel that this whole exercise ultimately end up in a situation where there is absolute chaos in this country.
I don't think. I think the Constitution requires the people have the right to go to Supreme Court, and the people have the right to vote at a referendum. I think individually
the people have to go, but I don't know whether the government want to refer this.
So the people must be aware. Gentlemen, Hemantwana Surya, Komindasri, thank you very much for your presence this morning.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Newsline. When you talk, you are only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may actually learn something new. On that note, I wish you a great day. Take care and God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.